Thank you, Antoine. My mic was off. I've been doing this a couple times. Good evening, PEP scholars. I've been talking to myself for the past 2 minutes. All right, so welcome to another live PEP class. And this evening, being Friday, we're going to be doing a curriculum-based test. But we're not doing a mathematics curriculum-based test that we usually do. We're doing a social studies curriculum-based test. Before we go into that, though, here's our schedule of live classes. Hello CSEC math students, I know you are busy preparing for your math test and your CSEC exams coming up. I have a very important question to ask you. Do you like my new hat? Thank you. Now another important question. Have you ever gotten a math problem wrong simply because of making one little mistake? I'm sure you have, as thousands of other students have. Now in this series, we're going to be looking at the common mistakes that students make with all the topics in CSEC Math. We're going to look at the common errors, demystify everything, make sure you watch every video in this series so that you can avoid making those mistakes. So stay tuned. Hello scholars, did you know that most times when students get problems wrong in mathematics is as a result of one single error or one mistake? Well, this is absolutely true, and we're going to be looking at the common errors that students make in the different topics in mathematics. If we know the errors beforehand, we can certainly avoid making them. Are you ready? Come on, take my hand. All right, so good evening to all scholars joining us. Welcome to those in the chat. I'm seeing Langat, Ashley, Ochano. Good evening. And in studio, I have some scholars waiting. So I'm going to invite them to join me. So we have Coleman, Antoine, Lejande so far.
Hi, Miss.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Good morning, Miss.
Good evening.
I'm going to turn on the video.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
You see there.
Hi, Naya. Hi, Michaela. All right, so let's go.
Good evening, Miss.
Good evening. Let me share the screen. All right. So there we have our screen, PEP curriculum-based test. And these are some sample questions from the 2019 curriculum-based test. And this was issued by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information here in Jamaica to help students prepare for the 2022 PEP curriculum-based test. So the introduction, this booklet consists of items originally found on the 2019 Administration of the Primary Exit Profile PEP Social Studies curriculum-based test. 15 items are contained within this booklet, and together they provide a guide that should support the preparation of students for the 2022 administration of the curriculum-based test for social studies. I'll read that again. Introduction. This booklet consists of items originally found on the 2019 Administration of the Primary Exit Profile PEP Social Studies curriculum-based test. 15 items are contained within this booklet. And together they provide a guide that should support the preparation of students for the 2022 administration of the curriculum-based tests for social studies. Characteristics of the items. So for question number 1, which is a single select multiple choice question, the objective is to create a thematic map of the world showing the places of origin of the ethnic groups that came to the Caribbean. Students are required to identify the ethnic groups which originated from specific areas of the world. And we're to examine the map of the world below and use it to answer item 1. So here we have X right here, and we have Y right there. All right, so Coleman, please read item 1.
Item number 1. Which groups originated from the areas labeled X and Y above? A. Africans and Chinese. B. British and Africans. C. East Indians and British. And D. East Indians and Chinese. Which of the groups originated from the areas labeled X and Y above? A. Africans and Chinese. B. British and Africans. And C. East Indians and British.
And D?
Oh, D. East Indians and Chinese.
All right, so let's look back at the map. So it's X and Y.
Uh,
All right, let me hear your answers. Scholars, you can say or type your answers. Ashley says A, Africans and Chinese.
I am not really sure.
All right, fair enough. Antoine, do you know?
Miss, can you scroll back to the diagram,
To the map?
please? Yes, miss.
So
Miss,
we have
I'd say,
X and Y.
okay, miss. Miss, I'd say D is Indians and Chinese.
Okay, so Leishande is also saying A, Africans and Chinese. Ashley says East Indians and Chinese. Antoine says D, East Indians and Chinese. You are correct, Antoine. So Ashley says Y is China and X is India. So here we have, let me get my highlighter. Right, so here we have X, that's India, and Y is China. So it's D, the East Indians, and the Chinese. Item 2 is also a single select multiple choice question. The objective is to describe the life of Chinese and East Indian immigrants on the plantation from the 19th to the 20th century. This item requires students to read the description of ethnic groups on plantations from the 19th to the 20th century, then determine the ethnic group the description excludes. So the objective is to describe the life of Chinese and East Indian immigrants on the plantation from the 19th to the 20th century. This item requires students to read the description of ethnic groups on plantations from the 19th to the 20th century, then determine the ethnic group the description excludes. All right, Antoine, please read the passage.
Okay, miss. Read the passage below and use it to answer item 2. They are not slaves. They are contract workers who agreed to work for a period known as in- internship in exchange for their passage. Yes, miss. Internship in exchange for their passage to the New World. They came in search of a new life in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean. They were not slaves. They were contract workers who agreed to work for a period known as indentureship in exchange for their passage to the New World. They came in search of a new life in the Caribbean.
All right, Legionly, I'd like you to read the question that goes with that. So that's question 2.
Miss, can you read it? Okay, never mind. Which group is not being described in the passage above? A. East Indians. B. British. C. Portuguese. D. Chinese. Which group is not being described in the passage above? A. East Indians. B. British. C. Portuguese. D. Chinese. Miss, can you go back to the passage, please? Um, Miss.
So
Miss,
the
can you give me a second, please?
can I do what?
Can you can you go to other persons? I'm trying to figure out that.
Sure. All right. So Ashley says the British. Naya says the British. So this passage is talking about the indentured workers. All right. So which, in other words, then, which of these persons mentioned here were not indentured workers? So that would be the British, since the British were the colonizers. Item 3, single select multiple choice. Objective to distinguish between the pull and push factors that led to migration of the East Indians and the Chinese to the Caribbean. This item requires students to demonstrate their understanding of push factors which led the East Indians to migrate to Jamaica. The objective is to distinguish between the pull and push factors that led to migration of the East Indians and the Chinese to the Caribbean. This item requires students to demonstrate their understanding of push factors which led the East Indians to migrate to Jamaica. So, can someone describe what is a push factor and a pull factor, first of all? Who knows what's a push factor and a pull factor?
Miss,
Miss,
I
I am
searched
totally lost.
All
Miss,
right.
I searched up a push factor. It says that push factors encourage people to leave their point or like their hometown or country of origin and to settle somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. So, a push factor is something that's happening in your country that makes you want to leave your country. So, it's negative conditions that are happening in your country that make you want to migrate and go somewhere else.
Yes,
And
miss.
Oh, so it's kind of like migration.
Yeah.
yes, it's pushing you away from your country.
And miss, there's a pull factor. A pull factor is a motivating cause that attracts a person to migrate to another region or country.
Okay, so the pull factor would be the nice things, the advantages that are happening in the other country that would pull you towards them, that makes you want to go to them. So the push factors make you want to leave your country. The pull factors make you want to go to the other place. So let me read what some of the scholars in the chat are saying. Michaela says a push factor lets you leave a country. Nia says a push factor is something that would push you from the place you are living. Michaela says a pull factor attracts you to a country. Ashley says, for example, poverty would make you want to leave. Well, she's choosing. Ashley, we don't even read the question yet, girl. I don't read the question yet. Janice says a push factor is when someone leaves a place for a better livelihood, and a pull factor is what makes someone come to a place. And Nia says a pull factor is something that would pull you or make you want to move to another place. All right, so everybody is right. So let's look at the actual question now. And for this, I'm going to ask Legende to read. No, yeah, Legende.
Okay, miss. Okay, miss, I'm waiting. I cannot see. What's on the screen? I can't see. This is blocking it. Miss, can you read
Did you
from
just
the...
read Legende? I just asked you to read.
Yes, miss, he just asked me to read.
Okay, so it's Amari's turn.
Okay, miss.
All right, Amari, can you read for me?
Okay, miss. Okay. Mr. Ramsaks left India in the late 1800s and migrated to Jamaica, which was a push factor for him. Mr. Ramsmak left India in the late 1800s and migrated to Jamaica. What was a push factor for him? A. Poverty. B. Job opportunities. C. Hope for a better life. D. Good weather conditions. A. Poverty. B. Job opportunities. C. Hope for a better life. D. Good weather conditions.
All right. So which one would They're asking for push. Which one would be a push factor? Which one would push him away from India? So that's number 3. Which one would push him away from India? Which one
Miss,
would be
I
a
say
push factor?
A. Poverty.
All right. So Michaela, Nia, Legende, Antoine, they're saying poverty. And poverty means what? Antoine, what is poverty?
Miss, poverty means it's like being poor, not having enough of money.
Okay. So if Mr. Ransack was poor in India, he would want to leave to go somewhere else to see, what can happen. So he wouldn't want to stay in the poverty. All right. So poverty is a push factor. It pushes you away from your country to go and see what opportunities are elsewhere. So if he had job opportunities in India, he wouldn't want to leave. If he had a better life in India or good weather conditions, those would make him want to stay. Item number 4, objective to identify and describe the national symbols of Jamaica. This item requires students to identify the national symbol or emblem being described. So the objective of question 4, identify and describe the national symbols of Jamaica. And this item requires students to identify the national symbol or emblem being described. John, question 4.
Okay. What are the following required at official ceremonies and meetings in Jamaica? What are the following is required at official occasions and meetings in Jamaica?
Ceremonies.
Oh, sorry, ceremonies and meetings in Jamaica. A display an image of the lignum vitae. B. Display an image of the hummingbird. C. Serving of the national dish. D. Playing flash singing of the national anthem. Which of the following is required at official ceremonies and meetings in Jamaica? A. Displaying an image of the lignum vitae. B. Displaying an image of the hummingbird. C. Serving of the national dish. D. Playing or singing of the national anthem. Miss, I would say D. Playing or singing of the national anthem.
All right, that is correct, John. When
Agree.
there are official ceremonies, we are expected to either play or sing the national anthem. And of course, we would stand at attention. All right, so Michaela said D, Ashley D, Nia, Legende, Antoine all said D for question 4. Item 5, the objective is to examine images which show the changes in the Jamaican coat of arms and justify the changes made. This item requires students to demonstrate an understanding of the reasons for the changes made to the Jamaican coat of arms over the years. So the objective is to examine images which show the changes in the Jamaican coat of arms and to justify the changes made. This item requires students to demonstrate an understanding of the reasons for the changes made to the Jamaican coat of arms over the years. Coleman, please read.
Communist. Which statement provides the best reason for the changes in the Jamaican coat of arms over the year? The coat of arms should A. Look visually appealing, B. Be changed on a regular basis, C. Be a reminder of slavery, and D. Reflect Jamaica's history, resources, and people. Which statement provides the best reason for the changes in the coat of arms over the years? The coat of arms should A. Be visually appealing, B. Be changed on a regular basis, C. Be a reminder of slavery, and D. Reflect Jamaica's history, resources, and people. Miss, I would say D. Reflect Jamaica's history, resources, and people.
All right, that is correct. So the coat of arms should reflect who we are as a people, right? It should have symbols that tell something about our history, our culture. All right, so D is correct for item 5. Legende, Antoine, Ashley, Michaela, Nia all said D for item 5. Item 6, the objective is to formulate questions about Jamaica's decision to pursue independence and conduct research to answer these questions. Students are required to identify the most suitable question that can be used to form the basis of a research. The objective is to formulate questions about Jamaica's decision to pursue independence and conduct research to answer these questions. Students are required to identify the most suitable question that can be used to form the basis of a research. Antoine, please read.
Okay, miss. Your teacher gave you an assignment to find out Jamaica's reasons for seeking independence from Britain in 1962. Which question would you most likely ask to get this information? When did Jamaica gain
A.
A. When did Jamaica gain independence? B. How important was it for Jamaica to get independence? C. From which country did Jamaica get independence? D. How has Jamaica grown since gaining independence? Your teacher gave you an assignment to find out Jamaica's reasons for seeking independence from Britain in 1962. Which question would you most likely ask to get this information? A. When did Jamaica gain independence? B. How did how important was it for Jamaica to gain independence? C. From which country did Jamaica gain independence? And D. How has Jamaica grown since gaining independence?
All right, so we want to know the reason why Jamaica gained independence. So, which question would you ask to get that? All right, so
Miss,
Ashley is saying B. Yes, Antoine?
I say D.
D. What does D say?
How has Jamaica grown since gaining independence?
All right, so that would be something that's happening after independence. So, would that be a reason for independence? How it has grown would be a
Oh,
development that comes after the fact, right?
I
So,
don't
but
know.
you're asking
The first one.
why the fact occurred. Would that be the best question?
No, miss, but in this case, my answer would be B.
Excuse me, miss.
Yes, Madison?
No, this is Coleman.
Sorry, yes, Coleman?
I would say that it is B. how important was it for Jamaica to gain independence?
Yes. How important was it? That would tell us the reason.
Because when the Jamaica gained independence, it already says that it gained independence in 1962,
Mm-hmm.
and C, from which country did Jamaica gain independence, would would already be there because it says independence from Britain.
That is correct.
And D does when is after we get independence, so it
Mhm.
will be the answer.
All right. And Lejeune, they agrees with you. Janice, Nia, Ashley, they all say B for question 6. How important was it for Jamaica to gain independence? That would answer the question. Um, you want to find out the reasons. The reasons. So, how important it was would tell us the reasons. And as Coleman said, we already were told from where and when. Okay, so item 7, we're to compare the paths to independence taken by Jamaica, Haiti, and Cuba. And this item requires students to describe an event that Jamaica took part in on its path to independence. So the objective for question 7 is to compare the paths to independence taken by Jamaica, Haiti, and Cuba. And the item requires students to describe an event that Jamaica took part in on its path to independence. All right, Legende, please read.
Which event did Jamaica participate in on its path to independence? Jamaica A. Joined forces with the USA to defend Spanish soldiers in
Repeat.
1898. B. Became a republic in
What
1902.
word is that?
Defeat, miss.
Okay, continue.
C. Joined the West Indies Federation in 1958. D. Led a battle and defeated the British soldiers in 1865. Which event did Jamaica participate in on its path to independence? Jamaica Dash. A. Joined forces with the USA to defeat Spanish soldiers in 1898. B. Became a republic in 1902. C. Joined the West Indies Federation in 1958. D. Led a battle and defeated the British soldiers in 1865. Miss, I say B.
Did you say
Wait,
B
no,
or D?
C. No, I, I, I don't know which one to pick.
All right, if you don't know, it's okay. All right, does anyone want to
Yes, I
say the
choose
answer and
B.
explain?
No, sorry, C.
Anyone
Miss,
want
I
to
would say
confirm?
D because in the after the Spaniards had were in Jamaica, the British came and they enslaved us. So I think the best way to so I think in order to participate on its path to independence. Jamaica would probably lead a battle and defeat the British
What
soldiers.
happened in 1865 though in Jamaica? There was an opposition put up by the Maroons in Jamaica against the British soldiers. But was it in 1865? 1865 was the Morant Bay Rebellion. That was the time of Paul Bogle. The opposition to the British soldiers would have been prior to that. On the path to independence would be more closer to, remember, independence was what? 1962. So to be closer to that era, not in the 1800s. Um,
Oh, so it would
Jamaica
it
is
would
not a republic, has not been, was not a republic, is not a republic.
so it would probably be C, joined the West Indies Federation
That is
in
correct.
1958.
So in 1958, the Federation, the West Indies Federation, was proposed that the British speaking Caribbean islands come together as a federation, which would be almost like a nation of islands, a nation state with, even though the islands were separate, they would govern themselves as one.
So, Miss, I got it right.
And that would, well, we know that you guessed because you told us point blank you didn't know the
Yes, Miss,
answer.
I know.
All right, so you guessed the answer.
Yes!
All right, so for item 8, the objective is to examine, compare, and evaluate multiple sources that outline the life and work of Marcus Garvey, Norman Manley, Alexander Bustamante. Students are required to evaluate the list of sources given, then determine which would provide relevant and reliable information about the life and works of Marcus Garvey. So the objective for item 8 is to examine, compare, and evaluate multiple sources that outline the life and work of Marcus Garvey. Students are required, Marcus Garvey, Norman Manley, Alexander Bustamante. Students are required to evaluate the list of sources given, then determine which would provide relevant and reliable information about the life and works of Marcus Garvey. Amari, please read this question.
Excuse me, Miss, can I say one thing?
Sure,
I was going to say, before we end this live, I have something to ask you, okay, Miss?
sure. After this question, I'm going to ask some persons backstage to join us. So we're going to switch after question 8. Go ahead, Amari.
Okay, miss. Which of the following source would be the most suitable for gathering information about the life and works of Marcus Garvey? Which of the following source would be most suitable for gathering information about the life and works of Marcus Garvey? A. A photograph of Marcus Garvey. B. A song about Marcus Garvey. C. The birth certificate of Marcus Garvey. D. An autobiography of Marcus Garvey. A.
Autobiography.
Oh, autobiography of Marcus Garvey. A. A photograph of Marcus Garvey. B. A song about Marcus Garvey. C. The birth certificate of Marcus Garvey. D. An autobiography of Marcus Garvey. Miss, I would say D. An autobiography of Marcus Garvey.
And why would that give us the best information? The most suitable information.
Miss, because it tells about his life and his work.
And what is special about an autobiography?
Miss, the person wrote it themselves.
Correct. So the autobiography would be what Marcus Garvey
Wrote
himself
about himself.
is saying about his ideals, his life, his philosophy. And he actually um, wrote the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, which were essays and speeches, and they were collected by his wife and published on his behalf. So there's a saying, you get it from the horse's mouth, straight from the horse's mouth. An autobiography gives you the real deal from the horse's mouth, from the person himself or herself. So that would be the most suitable one. So Antoine said that. Nia said D also for question 8, an autobiography of Marcus Garvey. All right, so I have some students waiting backstage. But what a predicament. All my scholars are sending me messages. Miss, please don't switch me. Please, 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 please. Miss, please don't send me backstage. Please, please,
Miss,
please. Why are my scholars doing this to me on this
Miss,
lovely Friday afternoon?
I can go backstage, Miss.
So noble
Miss,
of you,
please, no, don't
Antoine.
take me backstage. Please, please, please,
Antoine,
Miss.
that is very noble of you. Thank you, sir, for volunteering.
Miss,
Miss,
I'll
I'll
go
go
backstage
backstage
as
too.
well.
Please don't,
Thank
please,
you,
no,
John
please,
and
Miss,
don't
Amari,
do.
for
please, never,
volunteering.
please, me.
Thank you.
All right,
Please.
so we'll welcome Madison and we'll welcome Michaela. And if
Hi,
anybody else
Madison. Hi,
comes,
Kayla. Afternoon.
all right, so if
Good
anybody
afternoon.
else comes, hello, Michaela. Hello, Madison.
Good afternoon, miss.
Good afternoon. All right, so let me see, somebody else is here. Okay, so Jer is here. All right, so adios, legende. Welcome, Jer. Okay. The comment, what a comment. my, my scholars have me feeling so guilty. All right, so the lineup right now, let me write down the names because I want to make sure I give everybody a fair chance to do some participation. So I write down the names to make sure I don't leave out anybody. So we're at question 9. If your mic isn't working, I'm just gonna ask you to go back, to wait backstage and allow someone who can actually participate to come back on screen, right? It doesn't make sense you're on the screen and you can't speak. So you can go backstage, and what happens is you can always type your answer. All right, so Jer, after I introduce question 9, I'm going to ask you to read it. In the objective is to use data to make comparisons and draw conclusions about how mountains affect weather and climate. This item requires students to analyze data given and use it to explain the impact that mountains or highlands have on temperature. So the objective is to use data to make comparisons and draw conclusions about how mountains affect weather and climate. This item requires students to analyze data given and use it to explain the impact that mountains or highlands have on temperature. All right, go ahead, Jer.
Okay, miss. The table below provides information about two peaks miss, it's blurry. I can't see
In
that.
the Candy Mountains,
Into the Candy
Candy
Mountain
Mountain range.
ranges. Use it to
All right,
answer.
let me expand it. Give me a second. Give me a second. Let me expand it for you. All right. So, all right. So, I've expanded the screen. So let me share again. Can you see it better now?
Yes, miss.
All right. Go
Number
ahead.
9. The table below provides information about two peaks in the Candy Mountain Range. Use it to answer item 9. The table below provides information about two peaks in the Candy Mountain Range. Use it to answer item 9. Peaks: Blues Peak, Mary's Peak. Highest annual temperature: 23 Celsius, 26 Celsius. Lowest annual temperature: 8 Celsius, 13 Celsius. Highest no height above area above height above sea level: 2,578 meters, 1,879 meters. Peaks: Blues Peak, Mary's Peak. Highest annual temperature: 23 Celsius, 26 Celsius. Lowest annual temperature: 8 Celsius, 13 Celsius. Height above sea level: 2,578 meters, 1,879 meters.
Thank you, Jer. All right. Michaela, please read the question.
Why is the Blues Peak cooler than Mary's Peak? A. Blues Peak and Mary's Peak are the same in height. B. Blues Peak is higher than Mary's Peak. C. Mary's Peak is higher than Blues Peak. And D. Mary's Peak and Blues Peak are far apart.
Please read again.
Why is Blues Peak cooler than Mary's Peak? A. Blues Peak and Mary's Peak are the same in height. B. Blues Peak is higher than Mary's Peak. C. Mary's Peak is higher than Blues Peak. And D. Mary's Peak and the Blues Peak are far apart.
All right. So, why is Blue Speak cooler than Mary's Speak? So we see peak 8 degrees Celsius, lower temperature than Mary's Peak, which is 13 degrees Celsius. So why is Blue's Peak cooler than Mary's Peak? All right. What do you say, Michaela, or anybody else? Madison?
Miss, I say B. Blue's Peak is higher than Mary's Peak.
And what would the height above sea level have to do with coolness?
Miss, because the higher you go up, the cooler is. So the air gets thinner and less moist, causing it to be cooler. And the higher you get, it goes up 0.65 degrees Celsius. The temperature goes down, sorry,
Down.
0.65
Okay.
degrees Celsius.
Right. So the higher you go up, the lower the temperature gets. And also, as you said, the thinner the air and the less oxygen also is available for breathing. So Blues Peak is higher. It's at 2,578 meters. Mary's Peak is 1,879 meters. So Blues Peak is higher than Mary's Peak. That accounts for the cooler temperature. Item number 10, objective: to gather information from multiple sources and use it to analyze the effects of human activities on mountains. This item requires students to identify a human activity which has a negative impact on mountains. The objective for item 10 is to gather information from multiple sources and use it to analyze the effects of human activities on mountains. This item requires students to identify a human activity which has a negative impact on mountains. Madison?
Which human activity can negatively impact mountainous environments? A. Replanting of trees. Um, Miss, I can't see the other
You can't see you can't see any of it. B, growing
one.
cocoa trees.
Okay, Miss, I can see it now. Sorry. C. Preserving forest reserves. Or D. Removal of trees. Okay, Miss, the thing keeps coming up and it keeps blocking the screen, so the chat, so I can't see.
All right.
Okay,
Just
A.
take your time and
Replanting.
read as it goes.
Okay, Miss. A. Replanting of trees. B. Growing cocoa trees. C. Preserving forest reserves. Or D. Removal of trees. Miss, I say D. Removal of trees.
All right. And why would that have a negative impact?
Miss, it can cause soil erosion and landslides.
That is correct. And also less rainfall too. So definitely we know that replanting trees would have a positive effect. Growing cocoa trees would have a positive effect. Preserving the forest, that's a positive. All of these are positive. Removing station has a negative effect on the environment. Not only, well, remember the trees provide so much in terms of resources. It's also habitats. Trees are habitats for animals, from tiny microscopic organisms to larger animals. They would lose their habitat if we remove the trees. And as Madison said, the roots of the trees help to hold the soil together. And when we remove them, the soil has nothing to hold it up. And so when the rain comes or the wind, we can have soil erosion and landslides, land slippage, and so on. So, item 11, the objective is to gather information from multiple sources and use it to describe the activities, goods produced, and services that are carried out or offered in mountain or hill environments, then draw conclusions about the importance of mountain or hill environments. This item requires students to evaluate the sources and determine which sources provide relevant information to support the claim made. So our objective for item 11 is to gather information from multiple sources and use it to describe the activities, goods produced, and services that are carried out or offered in mountain or hill environments, then draw conclusions about the importance of mountain or hill environments. This item requires students to evaluate the sources and determine which sources provide relevant information to support the claim made. Antoine, please read. Antoine,
Miss, Antoine isn't on.
so what happened to Antoine?
Miss,
You
I
guys just
volunteer.
you guys just disappear when you're ready, you know.
No, Miss. Remember that you asked for a switch and I volunteered?
Yeah. So hold on. Who else did I have on then? All right, it's okay, Antoine. Go ahead.
Okay, Miss. Source one. Wait, okay, source one. Blue and Juncro Mountains National Park is a large area of natural forest where many animals are protected. The region is a known habitat for the largest butterfly in the Western Hemisphere, the giant swallowtail butterfly. Source 2. Whether it is hiking, catching a glimpse of rare birds, exploring a coffee farm, or enjoying a picnic, the Blue and Jungle Mountains National Park has an experience for everyone. Source 1. Blue and Jungle Mountains National Park is a large area of natural forest where many animals are protected. The region is a known habitat for the largest butterfly in the Western Hemisphere, the giant swallowtail butterfly. Source 2. Whether it is hiking, catching a glimpse of rare birds, exploring a coffee farm, or enjoying a picnic, the Blue and Jungle Mountains National Park has an experience for everyone.
Thank you, Antoine. Jer, please read source 3. Jer. So Jer has gone. Michaela, please read source 3. Coleman, wake up. Are you sleeping? Coleman, you look like you're sleeping.
Sorry, miss.
You guys put Coleman to bed. He's
I
saying that
am.
you guys are moving too slow.
I
Michaela,
admit it. I was near.
Michaela,
Source
please
3.
go ahead, Michaela.
The Blue and John Crow Mountains offer refuge to maroons and therefore preserves the
Tangible,
tangible,
tangible.
tangible cultural heritage associated with the maroon story. Source 3. The Blue and John Crow Mountains offer refuge to maroons and therefore preserve the tangible cultural heritage associated with the maroon story.
Pronounce these words for me, Michaela. Refuge,
Refuge,
tangible.
tangible.
All right, so to offer a refuge, does anybody know what that means? When we say the mountains offered a refuge to the Maroons, who knows what that means? What is a refuge? Madison?
Miss?
It's kind of like a safe place or a hiding place.
Correct. Correct. So a refuge is somewhere where you can go to hide and be safe. And what does tangible mean? When something is tangible, who wants to quickly give me the definition from the dictionary? Janice says a refuge is a shelter. That's correct. Somebody quickly look up the word tangible and tell me what it means.
Tangible. I can't pronounce that word. Perceptibly by touch.
Say that again.
Perceptibly by touch.
perceptible by touch. So
Yes.
we can perceive it by touching it. All right. Anything else, Antoine?
Miss, that's the only.
All
That's
right.
the
So when something is tangible, we can touch it. We see the reality of it, right? It's real to us. So the Blue and John Crow Mountains offered a refuge to the Maroons and therefore preserves the tangible cultural heritage. So in the Blue and John Crow Mountains, there are things left by the Maroons that we can go and see and say, yes, definitely the Maroons lived in these mountains. Tangible cultural heritage. All right. So, Madison, please read question 11.
Question 11. Which source or sources support the statement below? Indigenous plants and animals have their homes in mountainous areas. A. Source 2 only. B. Source 3 only. C. Sources 1 and 2. D. Sources 1 and 3. Which sources supports the statement below? Indigenous plants and animals have their homes in mountainous areas. A. Source 2 only. B. Source 3 only. C. Source 1 and 2. Or D. Sources 1 and 3.
All
Miss,
right. So, hold on a minute, please, Madison. When you see source and a S in the bracket, you read it as source or sources because you can choose one or more than one. So, it's source or sources. And what are indigenous plants and animals? What does that mean when
Miss, it
something is
means
indigenous? Go ahead,
Miss, it
Madison.
means native to that place or
Correct. Right.
originating in that place.
Originating in that place, native to that
or
place.
or happening natural the same environment.
Say that again, Antoine.
This or it could be occur natural in the same environment or
Occurring in a specific environment, yes. So indigenous plants and animals have their homes in mountainous areas. Madison, so did you identify which of the sources? Do you want us to go back?
Yes, Miss, the meanings and the us going through the meanings of the words, it kinda made me forget what the source
All
is.
right, we can go back. And in the exam, you would be expected to go back and see which of the three sources. So, what we're looking for is information to support the statement. Indigenous plants and animals have their homes in mountainous areas. So, source one, Blue and John Crow Mountains National Park is a large area of natural forest where many animals are protected. The region is a known habitat for the largest butterfly in the Western Hemisphere, the giant swallowtail butterfly. So here we have, does this say something about indigenous flowers or animals? The swallowtail butterfly has its habitat
Yes,
here,
miss.
right? Source two,
Miss,
whether it is hiking, catching a glimpse of rare birds, exploring a coffee farm, or enjoying a picnic, the Blue and John Crow Mountain Park, National Park, has an experience for everyone. So it does mention rare birds, source two. Rare birds live in the Blue and John Crow Mountains. Source three, the Blue and John Crow Mountains offers refuge to Maroons and therefore preserves the tangible cultural heritage associated with the Maroon story. So which option are we going for?
Miss 1 and 2.
So that to be
C.
C, sources 1 and 2. For item 12, our objective is to describe various strategies that are used to promote Caribbean culture, develop criteria to measure effectiveness, and use it to evaluate strategies used to promote Caribbean culture. This item requires the students to read the information presented in the source and then deduce the main issues to which the suggestion can address. Describe various strategies that are used to promote Caribbean culture, develop criteria to measure effectiveness, and use it to evaluate strategies used to promote Caribbean culture. This item requires the students to read the information presented in the course and deduce the main issues to which the suggestion can address. Antoine, please read the extract.
Okay, miss. Read the following extract and use it to answer item 12. There is evidence that we are losing some of our customs, traditions, national landmarks, and
Cultural
cultural
expressions.
expressions. Many of us do not respect our landmarks as we destroy and deface them. We must constantly promote our culture and make sure that it is passed on from one generation to the next. This is evidence that we are losing some of our customs, traditions, national landmarks, and cultural expressions. Many of us do not respect our landmarks as we destroy and deface them. It's, we must constantly promote our culture and make sure that it is passed on from one generation to the next.
Thank you, Antoine. Coleman, please read question 12.
Which two options best state the problem being described in the article above? A. Loss in civic pride. B. Cultural awareness that has declined. C. Increase in criminal activities. And D. Promotion of culture.
Wake up, Coleman, and read it again.
Alright.
Perk up, perk up, perk up. Read it.
Which two options best state the problem being described in the article above? A. Loss of civic pride. B. Cultural awareness has declined. C. Increase increase in criminal activities. And D. Promotion of culture.
All right, so there is evidence that we are losing some of our customs and traditions. We're losing some of our customs and traditions, national landmarks, and cultural expressions. Many
I
of
would
us
say
do not
loss. I
respect.
would say
And
loss of civic.
hold on, please, hold on. Many of us do not respect our landmarks as we destroy and deface them. We must constantly promote culture and make sure that it is passed from one generation to the next. Go ahead, Coleman.
I would say that the two options best state the problem being described is loss of civic pride and cultural awareness has declined.
All right, and so that is A and B. That is correct. And this is important to note. They're asking for two options. In the other questions, um, we noticed it was a single select. Now it's a multiple select. So in some PEP questions, you're asked to choose one, but in other questions, you might be asked to choose two or three, depending on the situation. So you really have to read carefully. They're asking for two options. So it's loss of civic pride. The citizens are no longer proud of their heritage. and cultural awareness has declined. They no longer know about the things that make up their culture and their heritage. Item 13, which is a grid type question. The objective is to name the major personalities involved in the independence movement in Jamaica, Cuba, and Haiti. This item requires students to identify the leaders who were involved in the independence movement in, in Cuba, Haiti, and Jamaica. So the objective is to name the major personalities involved in the independence movement in Jamaica, Cuba, and Haiti. This item requires students to identify the leaders who were involved in the independence movement in Cuba, Haiti, and Jamaica. Michaela, please read.
Indicate which country was helped by each leader on their journey to independence. Indicate which country was helped by each leader on their journey to independence. Leader. Sustained L. Overture.
Toussaint Louverture.
Norman Sustained Louverture. Norman Manley. Jose Marti. Alexander Bustamante. Leaders. Sustained Louverture. Norman Manley. Jose Marti. Alexander Bustamante.
All right, so
Countries.
Toussaint Louverture was from, read the countries.
Countries. Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba.
All right, so where was Toussaint Louverture from? Jamaica, Haiti, or Cuba? Does anyone know Toussaint? He was associated with the Toussaint was associated with the Haitian Revolution. So Toussaint was from Haiti. Norman Manley was from
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Jose Marti was from Cuba.
Cuba.
And Alexander Bustamante was from
Jamaica.
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 correct. Item 14. The objective is to examine the variety of goods and services that are offered to consumers and then assess the contribution of the East Indians and Chinese to the Jamaican economy. This item requires students to evaluate the sources given and determine which sources provide relevant information to support the claims made. So this is also a table grid, and the objective is to examine the variety of goods and services that are offered to consumers and then assess of the East Indians and Chinese to the Jamaican economy. This item requires students to evaluate the sources given and determine which sources provide relevant information to support the claims made. Madison, please read.
Okay, Miss. Read the passages below and use them to answer item 14. Source 1. East Indian cultural contributions. Miss, it keeps going in and out, so I can't really see properly.
What do you mean it's going in and out?
Like, Miss, it's getting very blurry.
Has it stabilized or is it the same?
Miss, it's now just blurry.
All right, let me ask somebody else to read. Tuan, please read.
Okay, miss. Read the passage below and use them to ans- item 14. Source 1. Each East Indian cultural contributions, delightful dishes, curry and roti, religious festivals. Miss, I can't see that word. It's like checking and checking out the quality of food.
So you're at religious festivals, Diwali.
Yes, miss.
Mhm.
Then
Owners of
owners
jewelry
of jewelry
stores.
stores. Source 2. Chinese cultural contributions. Tasty dishes, sweet and sour. Chinese New Year celebration. Owners of grocery stores. For each statement, indicate whether the information can be found in source 1 or source 2, or both sources.
All
Read the
right.
paragraph.
Go ahead again.
Okay, miss. Read the passages below and use them to answer items 14. Source 1. East Indian cultural contributions, delightful dishes, Korean roti, religious religious festivals, Diwali, owners of jewelry stores. Source 2. Chinese cultural contributions, tasty dishes, sweet and sour, Chinese New Year celebration, owners of grocery stores. For each statement, indicate whether the information can be found in source 1, source 2, or both sources.
All right. Coleman, please read.
For each statement, indicate whether the
Indicate.
information
Indicate.
indicate whether if indicate whether the information can be found in source 1 or source 2 or in both sources. Hmm.
Read the
Some
statement.
statements. Some ethnic groups have made significant contributions to the Jamaican economy. Source 1 A, source 2 A, source 3 both source both
You have to
source.
read this. We can see the options. Just read the statements.
Some ethnic groups celebrate similar festivals.
Secular. Secular festivals.
Secular. Wait
Read again from the top.
a minute. And then for each statement, identify whether the information
Indicates. Indicate.
indicate indicate whether information can be found in source 1, source 2, or both sources. Statements. Some ethnic groups have made significant contributions to this to the Jamaican economy. Some ethnic groups celebrate secular festivals.
What are secular festivals?
Secular
What is a secular
Festivals
festival?
that are not religious.
Okay. So festivals that are not religious, festivals that are not religious are secular. Okay. So for example, Easter is a religious festival
Hmm?
or a religious observation. Ash Wednesday is religious. Christmas is religious. Lent is religious. But we also have secular holidays, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, Labor Day, Heroes Day. Those are secular, they are not religious.
Excuse
Or,
me, miss.
yes.
When is Lent? What is Lent?
So Lent is the period between Ash Wednesday and Easter. It's supposed to be the 40 days that Jesus fasted before. he was crucified, as far as I know. All
Oh,
right. So let's go back to the sources. Some ethnic groups have made significant contributions to the Jamaican economy. Does source one say that? East Indian cultural contribution. And
yes,
source two says Chinese cultural contribution. So both sources are
yes.
telling us about the contribution. So that would be C. Some ethnic groups celebrate secular festivals. So which one of these would be a secular festival?
One
Diwali
more
is
time.
a religious festival. Chinese New Year is not religious. This is not a religious festival, it's a secular festival. So that would be source two. Who talks about secular festivals. All right. So we're on the last question. I'm going to Legende says she has a question to ask me. So after Legende reads the last question and we go through it, she'll ask her personal question. Item 15 is a table grid. Our objective is to gather information from multiple sources and use it to describe the activities, goods produced, and services that are carried out or offered in mountain or hill environments, then draw conclusions about the importance of mountain or hill environments. This item requires students to determine whether the explanations support or does not support the claims made. So the objective is to gather information from multiple sources and use it to describe the activities, goods produced, and services that are carried out or offered in mountain or hill environments, then draw conclusions about the importance of mountain or hill environments. This item requires students to determine whether the explanations support or does not support the claims made. So we are to read the statement below and use it to answer item 15. Mountains are important to man. Read each explanation in the table below and indicate whether it supports or does not support the statement. So we are to read the statement below and use it to answer item 15. Mountains are important to man. Read each explanation in the table below and indicate whether it supports or does not support the statement. Lejande, please read.
Read each explanation in the table below and indicate whether it supports or does not support the statement. Explanation: supports, does not support. They are ideal for the production of some crops. A. B. They contribute to increased rainfall. Supports. A. Does not support. B. They are ideal for rearing cattle. A. Supports. B. Does not support. Read each explanation in the table and indicate whether it supports or does not support the statement. Explanation. Like explanation. They are ideal for the production of some crops. Supports A, does not support B. They contribute to increased rainfall. Supports A, does not support B. They are ideal for rearing cattle. Supports A, does not support B.
All right. So mountains are important to man.
Miss
They
for
are they are ideal for the production of some crops.
Miss I say B does not support.
Does not support. Are you're so you're saying Mountain regions are not ideal for some crops. Are there
Oh,
crops that thrive in the mountain regions?
well, flowers grow in the mountain region,
Some crops
and
need hilly or mountainous regions to thrive, like the
Miss.
coffee plant. Some crops need hilly and cool regions for them to grow the best.
Okay, Miss. Then
That's
A
true, miss.
supports.
Yeah,
I
so
agree.
that supports. They
They
contribute to
contribute to increased
rainfall.
rainfall.
Yes, mountains have more rainfall than the plains.
They are ideal for rearing cattle. Miss, I say B does not support.
Right. So cattle would be cows. Cows
Yes,
don't.
Miss.
Cows do better on the plains.
Yes,
They
miss.
graze. They graze. The grazing lands are on the plains. So this
Miss,
was
someone said in chat that it asked if it supports, not if it's a fact.
it being a fact would support the statement. It being a fact supports the statement. You understand? So it's pretty much saying the same thing. So that was question 15, and that's the end of the curriculum-based test for social studies. Legendary, you said you had a question to ask. You may go ahead.
So I was gonna ask, what do you, what do you guys do at 12 o'clock? Cause every day, like when I wake up and I look in the group, I see you send a link at 12 o'clock. I'm like,
Every
wait.
day
Well, not really every day, but like most of the time, Miss.
on Thursday,
I was
on
just
Thurs
curious.
only on Thursdays at 12 midnight, we have a CSEC multiple choice class.
Oh, okay, Miss.
Right. It's not every day. It's Thursday at midnight.
Okay, Miss.
And we call that our midnight
Miss
multiple
Coleman
choice.
Brown has a question too.
Go ahead, Coleman. Or let me ask Antoine to go backstage and let Coleman come and ask his question. Go ahead, Coleman.
My question was that if you celebrated Jamaica Day at the school today, because we celebrated it at our school.
We did not, well, we were still online, and so we did not have any dressing up or any tangible celebration of it, but we do observe Jamaica Day.
Miss, wait. I would just want to ask something. On Jamaica Day, I forgot what Jamaica Day is. Not like forget it, but like on Jamaica Day, do you like dress up as like things? Cause I don't even remember. I can't even tell when last I did Jamaica Day.
Coleman, want to explain what Jamaica Day is? What did you do
Well,
today?
well, to basically on Jamaica Day, we play Jamaican music. We go up and perform, and we normally either wear a Jamaican top and jeans bottom or a like a bandana.
Oh yes. Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, guys. So I'm going straight into my CSEC paper two class right now. I have 1 minute to go. Thank you for being with me.
Miss, I feel like this is like the first time we ever like we reach they like go on to the pizza class because normally you come a few minutes over.
No, it's not the first time. It's not. We usually go straight up to the time or just a few minutes over.
Yes,
Once in
Miss, I
a
know.
while,
I just feel
we
like this
normally
is the
go
first
over
time.
by a
See,
lot.
it's 6 o'clock right now.
Yes, it is. So take care, scholars.
Bye,
Goodbye.
Miss. Bye,
Miss,
Lady. Bye, everyone.
Malaysian Day. Bye, everyone.
I'll
And
see
don't
you
on
on
YouTube
Monday.
too.
See you on
And don't,
Monday.
bye. See you on Monday.
All right. So here's our schedule of live classes. are busy preparing for your math tests and your CSEC exams coming up, I have a very important question to ask you. Do you like my new hat? Thank you. Now, another important question. Have you ever gotten a math problem wrong simply because of making one little mistake? I'm sure you have, as thousands of other students have. Now, in this series, we're going to be looking at the common mistakes that students make with all the topics in CSEC Math. We're going to look at the common errors, demystify everything. Make sure you watch every video in this series so that you can avoid making those mistakes. So stay tuned. Hello scholars. Did you know that most times when students get problems wrong in mathematics is as a result of one single error or one mistake? Well, this is absolutely true, and we're going to be looking at the common errors that students make in the different topics in mathematics. If we know the errors beforehand, we can certainly avoid making them. Are you ready? Come on, take my hand.